Good morning and welcome back to Other Worlds Wednesday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're actually going to be continuing my look at some books from Palladium games that I'm going to use for a small Ninjas and Superspies campaign. Now, this is the Palladium Books Compendium of Modern Weapons. This is an evolution from some of the earliest products produced by Palladium Books, the Compendium of Weapons, Armor, and Castles, which itself was an evolution of some books. But this one focuses more on modern weapons and equipment for use, obviously, in a modern day setting. So, before we get into this, do make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop gaming content, and whether it's role-playing, miniatures, board games, or anything in between, I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. Now, also, there are going to be links down below to DriveThruRPG, to Amazon. There are affiliate links if you want to help out the channel. We'd greatly appreciate it, but otherwise, we're just happy you're here to share this with us. So, with that out of the way, let's actually take a look at the book. So, this is it. This is the most recent printing. I received it in December of 2023 as part of the Christmas surprise packages. Which that's one thing that I do want to point out. First off, if you like Palladium books, if you're a big fan of theirs, take advantage of it. It comes out to about 40% off, and honestly, it is a fantastic deal for honestly any fan of Palladium books. And in this particular case, it was the last surprise box that I ordered for the year, and I had actually I really wanted the book, and so I made a point to highlight an asterisk and saying, please, this is the one book I really want. I don't care whatever else you put in the package, but this one I could really use because I'm going to be running a campaign that I think I can use it in. And it was right in the top of the box when I opened it. So if there's something you're wanting out of the surprise box that's a reasonable request, one of the books or something, make sure you just point it out. They're really cool, really happy to work with you. Now, this was written by Marianne Garner and had some other authors contributing. Marianne Garner is actually the former Marianne Simbita. One thing that I actually thought was kind of interesting when I was reading through this is that through the evolution of this book, she's still credited as the primary author. In fact, Kevin even makes a point here in the little introduction that let's see if I can focus in on it. Thanks to her military background, these books were largely compiled and written by my ex-wife, Marianne Simbita, now Marianne Garner, with additional research and writing by me, Kevin Simbita, and Matthew Ballant. Honestly, I think that actually kind of speaks to Kevin's credit. The fact that she's still credited, the fact that he even updated the cover and updated everything to her new name. I don't know anything about their personal situation, but to me that just says a lot about Kevin and how he looks at the people that work on these particular projects. So I just thought that was an interesting Easter egg and wanted to point it out. So anyways, with all of that out of the way, what do we get in the book? So first off, we're going to get a lot of art and a lot of just descriptions. The book is designed to be useful across any game system. Some you may have to adjust the rules more than others. Obviously, for Palladium, it's designed to just plug right in without any issues. But it's more. Think of it as sort of a fan reference book. It's not trying to be Jane's. It's not trying to have, exactly perfect reference material, but it's trying to give somebody who wants just a little bit of information that's going to be, better for their role playing table, to be able to describe an item or talk about, how much it weighs, what does it look like, where does it come from. It's a wealth of information that, honestly, for just a lay person, I don't think you can really find anywhere else, at least not in this quantity. So, first off, what they talk about before they get into the different weapons, they talk about different ammunition. Honestly, I think that's a great thing to talk about, mostly because most of the, like, a 9mm versus a 45 versus whatever across the games, it's not going to matter. How much damage it does, it's going to be the same. But as far as the reference material, being able to describe different things, like they talk about how a bullet wounds different between target, hunting, and combat ammunition, how the bullets are put together. Again, it's a lot of information that people can use to enhance a role-playing situation. You're dealing with like a survival situation. Okay, so you have, 4 rounds of ammunition. What do you get out of it? Well, you've got some brass, you've got some gunpowder. You can take them apart, do different things, and so it breaks down how that all works. I think that's kind of cool. Actual art describing the different kind of bullets that you're going to use. And then it also goes into the penetration value. Now, this is one. It's kind of interesting. I think it's great, but I also think it could have been a little bit better. For the SDC systems in Palladium, they have the armor rating. So if they had made the penetration values a little closer, say, to the armor rating, I think that would have been better. But we're dealing with a book that's about 40 years old. Honestly, at this point, it is what it is. But it also does give you a good rough idea of what that particular type of ammunition is going to do. So, like, a penetration value of 1 or 2 is just going to deflect off of bone. 3 is going to lodge. 4 is going to break the bone. 5 and 6 are going to shatter bone and wood. Cinder blocks, 1/4-inch armor plate steel. Superior is going to go through brick, thin metal. So again, it gives you an idea of what you can expect, what kind of things you can, describe to your players, or, say that you're the player and you're looking for a particular effect. Okay, is this weapon going to work against that armored vehicle? Again, tons of information that's going to be available for both the players and the GM to just enhance those little details. There's also the tissue damage, and then just a general damage rating for the different cartridge types. They then go in and give you essentially a description. So revolvers, calibers, cartridges, and damage. So it breaks it all down. What kind of ammunition are you going to have, and how is it going to work? Automatic pistols, rifle cartridges, special cartridges. So it goes through and it breaks it all down, and just gives you this background information. I'm going to repeat that phrase a lot, just the background information. Now, this I think is interesting because it talks about prices, which aren't horrible, but they're absolutely dated. So obviously you may need to look at more modern pricing for particular items. However, one thing to keep in mind is that books like Ninjas and Superspies, Heroes Unlimited, why do I keep blanking on Beyond the Supernatural, Systems Failure, any of the SDC settings from Palladium, they were all written about 20 years ago. which is about when the last major revision of this book came out. So they're actually going to be pretty close. So you don't have to worry too much about the pricing. If you run off of those numbers, it'll be fine. Otherwise, kick the pricing up, say, 20% or something, just to get a more closer approximation. It's not a lot of work there. All right. Then it goes into damage, shock, rules for using shock, the rules for blood loss, rules for hit location. So if you get hit in the chest, if you get hit in the heart, if you get hit in the head, what are the kinds of effects that you're going to take? Obviously for a system like Palladium that is already pretty crunchy in anyways, adding some of this information is going to make it a bit more detailed, but I think a good game master and good players can roll with it. Basically I would say don't use it for everything. Use it when it's a nice dramatic moment or you want to emphasize something. Obviously, play it by ear. Then describing the combat system for modern firearms. And then body armor. So this is kind of interesting because obviously with modern body armor, what is it? How useful is it? So they give you the different classes of body armor, what they can take. So like class 1 can deal with 22 to 38 caliber in most cases. Class 4 can do 38 special, 45 ACP, 30 caliber M1 carbine, all the way up to class 5, which is going to take a lot of 5.56, 7.62. For some reason I thought there was a class 6, but ignore that. No, there is not. But again, then it tells you the weight, kind of the effect, what's going to happen with shocked. Is there going to be impact damage that they take because of wearing armor? And this is where it starts to get fun in the book. Because now that they've introduced a piece of equipment, so in this case body armor, they start going through and showing different countries, what those different countries will wear, what they'll use. A lot of this art was done by Kevin Simbita, which I didn't necessarily notice at the time, but the man can write, and clearly he can draw as well, which is amazing. Obviously a lot of different art, a lot of different, just backgrounds, descriptions of all those things. We then get into non-lethal equipment, so police equipment, crowd control. Again, going into different countries. Not everything gets art, but a lot of it does. It's not highly technical art, but it's still very, very good. It's going to give you a good representation of what the particular item is. We get into revolvers and pistols. Again, we've got breakdown of how the firearms work. We get breakdowns of, the different countries, what they use, what, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, it's just tons and tons of information. We go into rifles. Same deal. The 4.7 millimeter G11 caseless Heckler and Koch. I think it might have been just an experimental version, but whatever, it's in here. So again, fun stuff that's going to be, realistic stuff that's going to be maybe a little bit science fiction. Obviously, this thing screams 1980s. 7.62 Dragunov sniper rifle. Rifle accessories, shotguns, submachine guns. Just, again, over and over, breaking it down by the country, breaking it down by the type of equipment, full machine guns, explosives, be it hand grenades, flamethrowers, rocket launchers. There are no laser weapons, so these are also all supposed to be realistic. They're not supposed to be, science fiction type equipment. Some of them might be a little borderline. But again, just all sorts of things, all sorts of just nice line art that's going to give you a good representation of what the item is, over and over and over. Surveillance equipment. Remember, fully compatible with Ninjas and Superspies. In fact, I would say this is pretty much a supplement for Ninjas and Superspies. So we're going to get surveillance equipment. And the main reason I got the book. So the Ninjas and Superspies game that I want to run is essentially going to be a sort of G.I. Joe kind of game. There's next to no vehicles in Ninjas and Superspies. They have lots of cars, motorcycles, trucks, things like that. But military equipment, tanks, all sorts of stuff like that, not included. And we get things like the Cascavel from Brazil, the French main battle tank, German, Israeli, South Africa, the UK, Sweden. There's... Okay. The one thing that I don't understand why it wasn't ever included or updated, for the United States, they have the M48 and they have the M2 Bradley, but they don't have an M1 Abrams. There are obvious gaps in this book. Equipment that should be there that isn't. And I don't know, I know one of the Heroes Unlimited books has some other tanks for the United States that aren't in here, but it still doesn't have the Bradley or the Abrams. So little confusing, little frustrating there, but still just the amount of equipment. And then even here, the old USSR. Keep in mind this came out in the late 90s. So yes, it's Russia, but most of the equipment was developed during the USSR days. So then they do have an index, and it breaks down by the type of equipment. Essentially, it's the same order as the book is laid out, but then you can go, okay, submachine guns, Mexico, UK, and look up the particular item that you're needing. This is absolutely fantastic. The book goes for $26.99, and it's 176 pages. Honestly, this book is fantastic. If you do anything with Palladium books, especially in one of their SDC settings, I cannot recommend this book enough. If for no other reason, it's going to give you that flavor to just bring your world more to life. You can say, oh, you find a pistol, you find a submachine gun. Okay, but that can mean anything. It could be, what it is to me isn't necessarily the same thing as it is to someone else. And so to be able to have the art, have the statistics, being able to bring the world to life, especially when you're dealing with a modern setting where not everybody is carrying the same piece of equipment. I think that this book is absolutely a must-buy, and I highly recommend it. So, what do you think? Have you used the Compendium of Modern Weapons? Is there something that I missed? Is there something that I should have pointed out? Put it down in the comments. Let me know, and I'd love to talk to you more about it. So, with that said, thank you for watching. Don't forget, there will be a link down to DriveThruRPG if you just want to pick up the PDF, but I'll also link over to Palladium Books. If you do, pick it up from them. Make sure that you tell them the Gaming with ADHD sent you. So, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.